Hello everyone, in this video we will give an overview on benchmarking, why is it important, the different types of benchmarking, and the steps of a successful benchmarking. Alright, so what is benchmarking? Benchmarking is the process used by an organization to identify, understand, and adopt best practices and processes from internal or external sources to help that organization improve the performance of its processes, projects, products, or services. The objective of benchmarking is to analyze and use the information gathered in the benchmarking process to identify areas where improvements are needed. Common areas that a company may want to target for benchmarking analysis include cost per unit, time to produce each unit, quality of each unit, and customer satisfaction. These are just some examples. An organization or a company will compare the performance metrics of their own process with the performance metrics of other processes to help them determine best practices for improving their processes and their own business operations. So why is benchmarking important? Well, the goal of any company is to grow, increase quality, decrease costs, improve processes, and of course be more profitable, make more money. Benchmarking is one of many tools that a company can use to achieve these goals. It is a part of any continuous improvement model used by a company. There are many different types of benchmarking that fall into three primary categories: internal, competitive, and functional. Internal benchmarking involves analyzing best practices in processes that are established by other teams or organizations within the same company. Competitive benchmarking is a comparison of products, services, processes, and methods of the company's direct competitors. This type gives the company an insight into its position in the industry where it operates. It also gives the company an indication on what it may need to do to be more competitive. A company will use functional benchmarking when it needs to look beyond its own industry but still in the same functions to identify best practices. For example, an IT department of a company operating in textile industry may look at best practices from another IT department in retail industry. So let's look at the different steps in the benchmarking process. The first step is to decide what to benchmark. This step involves assessing the effectiveness and efficiencies, strengths and weaknesses of the organization's current practices. It also involves identifying areas that require improvement, prioritizing those areas, and selecting the area to benchmark first. The second step in the benchmarking process is to establish the infrastructure for doing the benchmarking study. This also includes identifying the members of the benchmarking team who will perform the benchmarking activities. In the third step, the benchmarking team seeks an in-depth understanding of current practice in the selected area. This is necessary to do an accurate comparison. Also, key performance factors for the current practice are identified, and the current values of those key factors are measured during this step. In the fourth step, the team will decide from where to benchmark the processes. As we mentioned previously, this can be done within the same company, from a competitor, or even outside their industry. The best practices are gathered and analyzed in the fifth step. There are many ways of gathering best practices. It could be through site visits to other benchmark organizations. It could be through partnership, where the benchmark organization provides coaching and mentoring. Now, it can get difficult for the team to gather data from a competitor because a lot of that information may be confidential. So in this case, information is collected through attending trade shows, hiring consultant, research studies, interviews, or casual conversations with contacts from the other companies. Once the data and best practices are gathered in the previous step, the team evaluates and compares their organization current practices with the benchmark information. They also identify what causes the gap in their processes. In the 7th step, the team creates a plan to implement changes that they have identified as being the best to close performance gaps. Implementation requires total management buy-in of the findings. The plan must include clearly defined goals and should be written with the company's culture in mind. Finally, the team needs to pilot those improvement actions and measure the results against the initial values of identified key factors. This will help monitor the effectiveness of the improvement activities. The benchmarking process can also be repeated to consider improvements for other areas from the prioritized list created in the first step of the benchmarking process. Benchmarking must be a continuous process that not only looks at current performance, but also continues to monitor key performance indicators into the future. This is because industry practices change and improve. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.